Hello. Hello, 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 everybody. Okay, so welcome. Cheers, my dears. I know it's been a while since I've been alive. Or, I'm sorry, that came out the wrong way. It's been a while since I've done a live, and I'm very happy to be alive because there are too many true crime cases where women are not alive. So, day 186, looking at Nancy Guthrie, respectfully, I have to ask, has anybody else been getting whiplash from the ransom notes? First they're real, then they're not, then they're so real, they're being distributed to the public to see if anybody can see who these people are. So I definitely want to look at this quite seriously. And I am sorry for the delays. I had not been doing lives in July because it has been hotter than a habanero off of a barbecue grill in my studio. And the whole month of July I've been in, renovation of my life and the studio. So here we are. Let's talk about these notes. And cheers to you. So, the first ransom note, I'm going to just get my fluids ready. I want to just, but I also want to quickly light this candle, which was given to me. If you've been following me, this is a candle that was gifted to me by Nancy's personal hairdresser while I was doing searches in June. And in fact, she joined me on one of the searches. So this is a blessed candle. It was given to me with love from Nancy's hairdresser, and I took it into Catalina State Park, and I did some sweat lodge songs, praying to this candle and asking it to be imbued by the spirits who are all-knowing and to constantly reflect knowledge every time and truth every time I light it. So I'll tell you, there was something really incredible that did happen. And before I go deeply into the notes, I want to just light this and tell you what happened, because I am a strong believer that prayers are the most powerful way that you can set intentions and request direct help from the spirit world, personal spirit guides, collective spirits protecting. So, in that love and in that light, I always want to be focused on truth and be the conduit for that. So, a very cool thing happened in July when I was under my renos here. My sister, who has helped on this case, did not know that this was a candle that was gifted to me by the hairdresser. So, and I'm sorry I'm using that, I'm protecting her name by request, so no disrespect. So, my sister did not know this was the candle given to me by Nancy's hairdresser. And she stayed the weekend helping me renovate in July, one weekend, and she just lit it up. And I didn't want her to feel bad. I just thought, hey, there are no mistakes when you have prayed with a candle, okay? So she didn't even know, but yes, indeed, I just let it burn because I was lighting it every day to keep this alive, even though I haven't been on lives. So here I am, and my sister was here, and I do live in a big church studio here, and pointing straight ahead is where my entrance is. And I was back here. And my sister had already showered, and she had her hair in this beautiful braid. And she was wearing a lot of dark clothes that day. It was like black. She looked great. And as she walked through, I couldn't help but notice all of a sudden, I was just taking a good look at her, and I was realizing, wow, there was something about the black that she was wearing all of a sudden turned into navy blue in my eyes. And, you know, I was watching it, and this is the interesting ways that sometimes visions can come in. I just start looking at something and slight things change in front of my eyes. So as I'm looking at my sister, who was really dressed in all of black, it's shifting to this navy blue, and I'm looking at her braided hair, and because it was wet, it actually looked black. And all of a sudden, I did get a message from Spirit, which said, to the effect of, she looks like a nurse. I kept hearing this. She looks like a nurse. And in a moment I thought, is that me thinking my sister looks like a nurse? In one way she did. All of a sudden I was seeing this almost looked like a nurse's uniform to me, and I'm seeing this black hair, and then I'm realizing, wow, that looks like Mexican black hair. And all of a sudden, yes, the spirits are confirming to me that the one female that I know is part of this Nancy Guthrie kidnapping that I've always seen from the beginning, and in fact has a lot to do with it. I now believe, I have confirmation that this woman really is some sort of nurse designate. Now remember, this is US, I'm from Canada, I don't know your designations. My sister, I believe, said it was a VPN, could have been a VPN when my sister was helping with the reading, that the woman who helped take care of Nancy as she was held, we truly do believe she has something to do with the nursing profession one way or another. And maybe that explains the access to syringes, because we know Nancy was sedated. So I just want to say that's how powerful praying to candles are. This has been lit every day. I'm taking that as a confirmation, and I'm still seeing Mexican black hair. So I still want to say there is a connection. Here, cheers, cheers. I believe that there's still a Hispanic Mexican connection here on the team that kidnapped Nancy Guthrie. So let's talk about the notes for a second, because I didn't want to talk about them immediately, but if you remember, if you don't, I'll recap. Nancy was abducted in the morning of February 1st, and if I have the information correctly, the first ransom note went to news media directly on the 2nd of February, so that's pretty quick, okay? It was Sunday night, Monday, okay, so within 24 plus hours. The first note, I want to call it up just so people know what I'm referring to, and I'm going to make some links here. Okay, so first note was, if you remember, it's addressed to Savannah purposely. The second note is addressed to the Guthrie family. The first note, February 2nd, the second note, February 6th. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of information. I hope my hairdresser from Tucson doesn't mind me sharing. Getting choked up thinking about it. Okay, let's just look at that week for a second, because as long as I have been sharing information on this, I feel that, yes, she was taken from her property. I feel that she was still alive, taken from her property. I feel she was alive when she was put in the vehicle, and she was alive when she got to a stable ranch type setting where she was held for a number of days, being sedated and cared for by, or not cared for properly by, a female. Okay, now, so looking at the date again, it was the Sunday night into the morning of February 1st that she's taken. Now, by the Thursday of that week is February 5th. Okay, so that's the 5th day. The 7th day would, of course, been the 7th, and I know that the Gems show was on, and I know that there's a theory that perhaps these burglars were targeting Nancy's neighbor because of a wealth of gems. I know that Perp 1 and 2 in Nancy's home, they are burglars, okay? And before I go for the note, I'm going to recap on how I've numbered the Perps. Perp 1, door camera person. Perp 2 is the person who enters from the rear of the home, has been stationed watching from the pool and the backyard, somehow had eyes on the house, possibly by a remote device watching the house, and intended to come in the back door always. That second person enters the bedroom with Perp 1, and whoever is the taller out of the two, one stands in the doorway, preventing bedroom door blockage or making a blockage at the door, while the other Perp, I believe it could be Perp 2, that actually, and maybe Perp 1 is the one in the door. Either way, we know Perp 1, I feel, is a boxer and more aggressive. Perp 2 is more totally different personality and might have been the one to actually sedate Nancy. Okay, so Perp 1 and 2. And remember, Perp 3, identified Perp 3 when Nancy was showing me what happened in her home through my eyes, her eyes, and I know that Perp 3 is introduced to the scene inside the home only on communications. They're not in the room physically, okay? Very important. I want you to just mark Perp 3, okay, for a moment, because I feel there is a connection, Perp 3, to the first note. And I want to remind people what I think of Perp 3. Highly intelligent, highly organized. I feel Perp 3 made a connection to wanting ransom and a money grab because he knows Michael and Savannah somehow personally, okay? And I'm kind of sticking to that, okay? So in my look at this, yes, somebody knows them personally. So targeted, but not random, okay? Very targeted and not random. Okay, so Perp 4, I identify as the driver of the vehicle that took Nancy from her home to the second location where she was held. That Perp had nothing else other than driving. And I still say this is a Mexican person that could be connected to the cartel, but not hired by the cartel to kidnap Nancy Guthrie, and would not have done anything else at all other than just ride and drive, okay? That was it. So Perp 5 is the female. Perp 5 is the woman that somehow, in my opinion, knows Perp 3 very closely, okay? And I believe it's Perp 3 and 5 that organized this in full. Perp 5 is a female, I believe very Mexicana female, I believe very black hair, and as we keep seeing, and now is confirmed, I'm still saying she has some sort of connection to nursing industry with one of the masks that she shows to society. We actually feel that we see the person behind the mask, and these are people that are, I would say, still ruthless in their approach for getting what they want. We have seen ties to drug smuggling, prostitution, maybe trafficking, not heavy, but they would suspiciously be around, let's say, traffickers, that they would know how to lock down rooms and secure people in rooms, okay? I really feel that. They know how to secure rooms, and I feel that is also because they prefer to specialize in burglary. And so, but I do feel they've been around other crimes. Okay, so I wanted to make that connection, and I wanted to say that we're looking at the first week. Realistically, there is no way Nancy could have survived at all that first week with the absence of her medication. So even if the female Perp 5 is connected to nursing, there is something sublimely off here, because as they admit in their second ransom note, didn't we underestimate this? I want to just go back to that first week. Medical people would have been fearing that her life would have been jeopardized within 3 days or way less. Could have been within 48 hours because of the lack of medication. If they were sedating her to a point that her heart wasn't reacting to trauma, it might have extended her life a little bit because she wasn't in trauma of fear. Trauma of fear is enough to kill someone with a heart problem. So what I want to share that Nancy's hairdresser mentioned, choked up again, must be a bit of truth, because each time I'm thinking of this, I want to bawl my eyes out. Okay, so I actually think, from my perception, that Nancy was deceased by February 5th. And because when I've looked into the tea, I know that she was held for a certain amount of time. I see it. And horses ran by me in a way that I felt I was going to be run over. There are dude ranches in that vicinity of Tucson that I think are very appropriate to be akin to what I see as the location she could have been held. So, something's choking me up every time I look at February 5th. I believe if by the grace of God, Nancy was still alive through February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, I do not believe she made it through the 5th. And that is actually confirmed by the feeling that Nancy's personal hairdresser got that day. For all of the week, the people that were really close and talking about this, they could feel her, they could feel her, they could feel her. And then by that Thursday, they couldn't. So let's just go back to the notes for a second, because that's just trauma. So I'm going to read the notes just to get on the notes again, so you see the difference. I'm sure you've seen the notes, but just to reiterate, because I want to point fingers at a couple of things here as I'm looking at the wording. Okay, so note number 1, sent to 3 different news media. And you have to wonder, first of all, the first thing that I want to say about ransom notes and where they were, delivered. If you remember some of the posts I did on the fact that I believe Perp number 5 wants to be in a spotlight. And I believe that when she solicited Perp number 4 to do the driving, that's what she was looking for. She's looking for some form of, I need a better life. I want out of my normal life, criminal life. Let's go to a new level, and I got to see some cash in my life. So I really believe the female involved in this was as money hungry as perpetrator number 3, who came up with the idea. I still feel perpetrator 3 was the one who came up with the idea. So, first letter says, "Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. You will need to send Bitcoin in the amount of 4 million USD before 5 p.m. on Thursday the 5th. If payment is not received," and I'm going to say one thing, the public, I don't think, knew about this. I don't think this ransom note was released in the first week of February. Okay, so this 7-day allotment of time might not have been known by the public. Let's confirm that. That's just a little note that I'm making. Oh, and here's the other note I want to make. I have always felt that these are burglars trying to step up into a new category. Why don't we try to pull off a, kidnapping for money? So I still reiterate from the beginning, this was not supposed to be a murder, okay? And this really was supposed to be a money grab. We just want to take her. How hard can this be? We'll give her back. And I would agree that even when I had my sister check in on this, when I read this note number 1, it was almost exactly what we had channeled, saying, no, this was going to be money grab real quick. Let's have some female appease Nancy that, don't worry, darling, you're going to be okay. This is just going to be temporary. You're going to be returned. Don't worry. It's not forever. Just go along with it for now. Okay. This note plays exactly the sentiment that we have read through the tea leaves. So what I personally want to say about this note right away is I feel that this one is absolutely genuine. Not just because of the two details that they give with respect to holdback information that could have been holdback information. Okay, so I'll just continue reading, but those are a couple of things I want to think about. Okay, so they are also saying that we want the money by the Thursday, February 5th, okay? And otherwise, if that ransom is not received, the ransom will be increased to 6 million USD, which will need to be paid, which will need to be paid by 5 p.m. on Monday the 9th. Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. If payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed. Your mother is aware of this, and her life is in your hands. It is in the best interest of everyone to have this completed as soon as possible. You will not be able to contact me from here on out. There will be no negotiation. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you. And then the holdback information, she had a white smart watch on the floor of the foot of her bed, and the white floodlight in backyard was destroyed. Okay, so out of the 5 perps that I have identified, I want to say that the whole pace of this and the fact that it is addressed to Savannah, and it is firm, it's calculated, and honestly, it's almost like the person, yeah, your mom's scared, but let's move on with this. I feel that there's this detachment almost from Nancy, even in the way that they phrased certain things. And I still do believe they intended to give her back. Call me nuts, but I know a lot of kidnappings are not in a high level of success rate, but I really do believe that that was the serious thing. And using the words, she'll be within 12 hours of deposit, she'll be taken to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. I still feel she was taken out of Tucson anyway. So that could just be their little inferences of somehow the truth still comes out, even if you're not trying to give a lot of details. Sometimes the truth comes out, even if you're trying to hold back and be secret. So I know some people are calling issue to the fact that the USD has been used as a denoting of what type of money. Obviously, they know that Savannah has US dollars, but honestly, if you've ever had a Bitcoin, if you've ever had a crypto wallet, this, I know people are analyzing. When I see this USD, it's sort of like, oh yeah, whoever's writing this is used to crypto wallets, okay? That just tells me right away you're used to crypto wallets, because even on a crypto wallet, if you're holding US dollars, that's how you're holding it, USD. So I don't feel that it's that strange, honestly. I think it's apropos for the fact that these people truly wanted Bitcoin wallets, okay? When I've channeled Perp 3 is sophisticated enough absolutely to know of Bitcoin value, Bitcoin promise, Bitcoin speculation, Bitcoin hope, and I do believe that Perp 3 was a person of substance already, and they just wanted more money. And honestly, I feel like this sad deadline of the 5th, they certainly went quiet, and I think when I read this note, to me again, it's kind of more, never mind the note, I think it's a confirmation of when she truly died, because there was no proof of life between ransom note number 1 and ransom note number 2, and there was no communication during that week at all. Everything went quiet. And their realization of how they were this close to success because they had their target. You grab your target without anyone stopping you, and you leave a premise with a target without anybody stopping you, and you hear in media that nobody has anything on camera. You were this close, whether you are an amateur or a pro, this close. And let's go to the second note, because it really is sad. There's this lapse between the Thursday and the Monday. I would love to see where they were over the weekend, these perpetrators, because the world doesn't know she's dead. They can only speculate. They know she's died by the Thursday. And this entire shift with the second note, actually, let's go back to the first note for a second, because the FBI analysts, I can read you a couple of clips that I'm really interested in that other FBI people have come up with. I want to stick on one other thing here for a second, because they've noted it in their analysis. Of course, it starts off with saying, "We have your mother Nancy." So if this is true and authentic, I already know there's more than one perp involved. Even if FBI say we've only ever seen one person on camera, we can't prove there's more than one. Well, this is at least, nobody uses the word we unless there really is a we involved, okay? So 2, 3, 4, 5, there's more than one. But I love it when this person says, specifically, last line, couple lines, "You will not be able to contact me from here on in or here on out." I love that, because when I read that, the little vision that I get in my head on who is behind this, I see that little vision I always get of Perp 3, where he's on the communications. He's been smart enough never to show up in Nancy's home. He's not around the body. He's not at the second location. He's not helped bury her. He's never physically been near or touched, okay? But I know he sheltered himself behind communications. So for him to say, you will not be able to contact me, no kidding. He's like the Caucasian executive that's put the Mexican hardworking crew to work, and their hands are the ones that are dirty. So I still want to say this Caucasian that started this and knows them personally, he has always known how to keep his hands clean. And the Mexican crew hired to do this, they're the ones that ultimately will pay more. So, because here's why. I also believe that the Mexican crew that might have contributed to this entire kidnapping and burial, they are connected to Tucson. They are somehow connected to the radius around Tucson, even if there is Mexican genealogy. And as a side note, we know that the non-root hair that has been under analysis also throughout the United States for this whole time, they keep releasing into the public that it's not a match, not a match, not a match. I'm still going to say you're not going to get a match. Out of Perp 1 and 2 that were in the home, I know only one has ever done time, and I think it must be Perp 2 because they're the ones that are making sure they're not on the camera. They purposely put Perp 1 on camera. It is not because they're amateurs and stupid. Perp 1 being on camera lets you know that a crime occurred. Perp 1 on camera might not be an issue if Perp 1 doesn't have a mug shot. Perp 1 might not have DNA in any US database because maybe it's a cousin from Mexico that was asked, hey, Jorge, just come on up and help us with this gig. Go on camera, don't worry, we got you covered. Let's just get in and out. And honestly, no one perpetrator was responsible for every segment of this crime. That's what I know every time I tune into this. So let's go to the second note for a second, because again, this is by February 6th, which is the Friday, okay? So if that date is true, anyone can correct me, I believe the second note was sent to the same 3 news agencies. Okay, which again, I'm sorry, I'm slipping. This is one thing that I keep wanting to say. Okay, so if they sent it to the media, is it because they seriously still want that fame? They still somehow are seeking, I want to be seen. You know, sometimes people commit crimes because they want to be seen finally. So I still feel like that is somehow part of that personality of the perps. They want to be on camera. They want to be known, okay? Because honestly, like, what the bleep? I don't know, think of it. If you committed this crime, wouldn't you just want it to hide, be hidden, and you just pretend it never happened? Why do you need that connection to media? You want to be in the spotlight. You want to be seen. Okay, so there's something in that, and I think that stems from Perp 5, the female, in this. Okay, now, letter 1, very masculine, very determined. It's got its own pace. And it's specifically personal to Savannah. Savannah, you're the one solving this because we know you have the money. We don't need to address it to anyone else. You're the one with the money. So second note, if you haven't heard this, this is how this one reads. Guthrie family, we did not grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. Interesting, in the first note, they're saying we have your mother Nancy, as if you don't know the name of your mother. Here, they're not even saying Nancy's name in the first line. They are saying we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. One step removed from knowing who she is. We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. She perished shortly after she was taken. We believe it was heart related. She is buried in nature now. Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We want your family to know this and hope you all can find peace. We are truly sorry. And of note is, when you've seen the notes, lots of redaction, which is fine. Just means that there's pertinent information the public isn't going to know right now, for the wish of police, of course, and sometimes, again, related to hold back and perhaps more specific. Okay, so definitely for me, if I were to say, hey, who wrote this? Is it a male writing the first or a female? It actually really does feel like a female writing the second. What I find is very interesting about the wording in this is using the word perished. Perished. that's quite an English word. So that tells me that whoever wrote this, even if they are Mexican descent, because some of the wording when you use buried in nature, people think that's like an off expression, but honestly it's that reminds me of a Mexicana who's, honestly it does, and I know people think some of these were AI written, and I just kind of must say, I feel like when I'm asking AI, it feels to me preposterous. What feels more authentic to me is, I just have known too many Mexicans, okay? I'm wearing my Mexican lace, today, because I just feel, I'm sorry, I just feel like every time I tune into this, we've got a Mexican crew, okay? And I've helped enough Mexicans learn English. I've sponsored them in the Aztec dance as Mexica warriors to come to Canada, and we have Aztec dancers, and my gosh, I married a Mexican who wasn't even fully bilingual yet. We learned the language together, and languages together, and I'm telling you, everything about the way the second note comes in and other ways that they've addressed speaking with the public, for me, I'm getting it all over. It's Mexican learning English, and there are really beautiful nuances between our languages, and I just see it everywhere on this, okay? So I still feel, male or female, whoever wrote the second note, I'm getting Mexican connection to this still. For someone to use the words, she perished, instead of died, wow, like that is so eloquent. That is not the writer number one. Writer number one says, we're gonna kill her, like give us the money or we're gonna kill her. That to me is Perp 3. They still didn't really plan a murder. I don't care what anybody says. They did not plan a murder even with that little threat. I'm telling you, this was not supposed to be a murder. And I believe this is why you see such sorrow. Like I've already channeled. One person on this crew is desperately sorry about this. And I feel strongly that Perp 1 and 2 are related. Nancy tells me that they are a generation apart. So why? Number one, let's go to Perp 3 again. This guy's cold and I think callous enough. When spirits have described him, I've held back some of the phrases because I've given that to FBI in my own documents. As you know, things went out. There's certain phrases that came up purposely to describe this Perp 3, and I do believe Perp 3 would be the one that wrote the letter number 1. But here's, God, how many times have I tried to say this when I'm trying to speak with you today? First obvious question to me about these ransom notes, if this truly was not a burglary gone wrong, not a planned murder, a true kidnapping, don't you think it's kind of wild that they didn't leave a ransom note at the scene? Maybe they didn't want to assume they really could pull this off. But that does seem odd to me, because usually, historically, wouldn't the notes be left right there? So I'm kind of still suspect of, hey, yeah, why didn't you leave the ransom note right away? Okay, so you at least gave it within a day. Interesting it's through electronics, because I say that Perp 3 is highly knowledgeable in technology and would have been on a communications network, not cell phones, during the abduction, and knew later to scrub all communications, and he would have known how to do that. So I still feel that Perp 3 is the personality behind note number 1. I feel it's possibly Perp 5 because Perp 1 is not in charge. Perp 1, I think, is just the grunt person, okay? Be on camera, don't worry, we got ya. We gotta, people gotta know we did something wrong, you're the proof. We'll pay you, don't worry, go back to Mexico, don't worry about it. I think that's how Perp 1 went down, okay? Perp 3, I think, lives in California. Perp 5, the female, is from the radius around Tucson. I would bet my little heart on it. Well, maybe I don't want to bet my heart on a criminal, but I feel very strongly that there is still a radius north of Tucson that Perp number 5 could be working, could be living, could be married to a ranch person. I don't know if you guys have seen the number of comments lately, especially on my YouTube channel, as people have been watching things, and other psychics and other tarot readers, of course, there is one theme that we're all tuning in on, and we really believe, yes, there's a female, hands down, there's a female involved in this with a significant role, and we are all getting glimpses of the female having some sort of romance in her life that's significant to her. So you have to, a lot of people are getting this. We've gotten it from the beginning. So it's one of the reasons I searched even the bridal trail in Catalina State Park, because there are imagery and symbology that deal with the romance behind the scenes with the perps. And I have to wonder if Perp 3 and 5 know each other from the past. Possibly also through, call me crazy, prostitution, or having a favorite prostitute. And sometimes you stay friends with the people who are your lovers. And sometimes you know the crimes that they are imbued upon in. So I still feel that if we're trying to discern which Perp wrote the apologetic letter, it feels like Perp 5 to me. And if she really has some sort of face in community where she's a nurse or an apparent caregiver somehow in the realm of different levels of nursing or even elder care, perished would be a word. Perished would be a word used in medical profession, don't you think? More so, like I don't even say that as a medium, I just say they're dead. So it just, that's telling more to me than any other word. That says female. That says caring community, one way or another. So who's the female around the nursing? I would agree. Now, according to what I've seen, I believe these 2 ransom notes are being released because they are from the same IP. I don't know if that's true or false. But I don't believe Perp 3 and 5 live together. Like, they just don't. I don't believe Perp 3 and 5 live together currently. I feel that they knew each other from the past and just knew how to get into this crime together. So I don't know. Does anybody out there know that if they truly are from the same IP address? That is curious because they wouldn't be living in the same location. Okay, so going back to nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. When I read that line, what I get in my head is because they had her at quite a distance. I don't know, I didn't look into where you have hospitals north of Tucson from Catalina or Oracle or Saddlebrook. I didn't look into where the hospitals or medical facilities are. Maybe that's an interesting thing. Because if this woman really has some sort of part-time, full-time calling within healthcare in that region, Or I still say the female lives around Tucson, okay? And I'm still gonna say repeatedly, she was not taken to Mexico. There was no reason to take her to Mexico. This is gonna be a grab and return. I really do feel that. Because I still feel, honestly, I've tuned into this group enough. They're not murderers. They do every other type of crime, okay? But I really feel they're truly not murderers. They're just fumbling. I feel they're very good burglars. I feel they're excellent burglars, in fact, that are around enough crime that they were just going to try a different angle. So what else do I want to say about this? She is buried in nature now. I would agree. Like, I feel that that's very true. Nancy herself has shown me that she is definitely in an open air desert, so I believe that is true. We did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. Same thing using physical condition. Why aren't you just using, how quickly, I did not follow this until March. So if any of you were following it, how quickly were they talking about the fact that the meds were a factor? That must have been within days, immediately, because there's a concern for her welfare. She needs her meds right away. I'm willing to bet that was one of the first things in media. Second thing in media, I'm sure, is the fact that even her hand, I didn't know she had a hand condition, vascular condition with her left hand at all until it came up on Nancy Grace's special one night, months in. So I don't know if that was released to the public that she had that specific vascular condition with her left hand, but people know that she's an elder and thin skin can break very easily and bleed. So this first statement tells me that if this is Perp 5 writing this letter, and they are admitting, geez, sorry, we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition, that still forever tells me you cannot have been close enough to the family to know the specific medical, okay? So close enough to know Savannah and Michael, but for Perp 3, because they know each other from the past, he knows the family has money. But this Perp 5 that was put in charge of the crew, okay, Perp 3 had Perp 5 hire the crew. That's how I'm seeing it. So a lot of this is still falling on the shoulder of the female. She talked other people into this acting on the crew, okay? So here she is, compassionately, in a bizarre way, saying, sorry, we didn't fully grasp this. So you have to still say this has got to be 6 degrees of separation. This is not 1 degree of separation that there's a health worker in the home that's betrayed you. I still do not feel it was a health worker personally in touch with Nancy. Be rational. If it was a health worker connected to nursing that personally knew Nancy, they would have known that medication, because they would have known she needs it to stay alive. So you want that money? We gotta make sure she's alive. Okay, I'm sorry. Like that again tells me these people are not in the direct circle of having ever been healthcare workers for Nancy. Okay, so if that woman is connected to nursing, she wasn't personal to Nancy. I want to keep saying that. The second line, next line, we never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. That's 2 admissions there. We didn't want to hurt her. That really wasn't our intention. That's a double entendre of we really weren't going to do it. We were, I'm telling you, they're not murderers. They seriously, I think they just love money. I don't think honestly, I don't think they can handle pain. I think Perp 1 can. I think that's why Perp 1 is the front person. He's the boxer. He's like, I don't care. Everybody knows that dude's not scared on camera, right? He's not. Everybody agrees on that. Okay, so I kind of feel I'm not fond of Perp 5. I'm just not fond of Perp 5. I've made that clear. We've seen darknesses around her and her crew that have like kind of like, ooh, didn't like it. But there is a naivety with this woman. There's sort of like this kind of like benign brain where she might be around healthcare, but she's got no real way of being the right person to take care of anyone. So I see that this is Perp 5 all over this. Like, this is Perp 5 to me. This could definitely have been the female in charge writing this, because it's like, shoot, darn it, we fouled up. Shoot, what a mistake. Shoot, we were this close, darn it. Plus, when in closing, they're saying, or she is saying, we want your family to know this. I think there's a lot behind that. It's not just that, shoot, we screwed up, we want you to know how bad this was. Yeah, we can't even have proof of life. No wonder it went silent, no proof of life. I'm not giving you money if you're not telling me my mom's alive. Prove it. But this is a way, I think, that they want this over. Nancy's died, and they need this done. Okay, they remember, they were only going to dedicate 7 days to this. I suspect where they held Nancy is not property that they owned. I suspect, well, is it what they own? I've kind of gone between, do they really own it, or could they be ranch hands? Because sometimes, you guys tell me, I don't live in Arizona, but there are a lot of stables and there are a lot of ranches. Up here in Canada, when we have farm hands can actually live permanently on location because you need to tend to the farm full time. So you're going to live on it. And the owners give you residence. So I want to at least say that Perp 5 and her romantic partner, who was either involved or not, must be privy to this. They must at least somehow work on this property, the dude, caretake this property, or does someone they know own the property? And I've also suspected, does the owner of the property travel? And could these people have tried to pull this off when the owner is away? Because I've had a scene where there is the owner of whatever ranch or horse stable this is where she was held. I have distinctly seen a vision where I actually do believe an owner of that location could be an accessory after the fact, because it was discovered by that person that Perp 5 used this as the hostage holding area. And that's just a thought, mediumship thought that has come in because of this vision. Could the owner of the ranch be an accessory after the fact, discovering that their land was used without knowledge or permission as an attempt to just, let's slide this into our life now? And there's all sorts of things there that I still say that Nancy was taken within 23 to 30 minutes maximum of her home. I keep feeling it was south. I'm sorry, Freudian slip. I believe she was taken north, but I suspect her body was taken more and more I've looked at this and been there with my own feet on the ground, and considering where she's told me where she's buried in nature and the fact that it's red earth still, I am still questioning if her body was taken south, but she was held north. I still say she was held north. But there are areas around Marana that I am still highly suspicious of. Marana, Red Rock, and Saguaro National Park are still my best hits for her being buried in nature. So the other thing I think we want your family to know this and hope you can all find peace is, sorry, we got to go back to our lives now and we can't spend any more time on this. We only had 7 days. I'm sorry, we got to go. So we want you released from our bad feelings, okay? That tells me that these people have bad feelings, and I'm sorry for my lazy Mexican inferences here, but I hear them in my head, okay? So that's why I just can't get off this being Mexicana related, where they just like, sorry, we gotta go back to work, and it's really all the time we can spend, and believe me, Perp 3 is long gone. Perp 3 is probably in, the island of Bermuda, like replanning his like Bitcoin prophecies of his own, where he thought this was going to be Bitcoin coup of the century, and makes you wonder, why did it go from 4 million to 6 million as a request for the USD? I wondered if it was each of the crew wanted $1 million, because there's at least 4 of them. I think the driver just got paid on the side. Hey, we'll just pay you like what? A little more than $100, I'm sure. But, and honestly, if you're going to pay a driver, that driver was probably the best, cheapest date, and maybe didn't even know how serious this was, because you're just going to do drive and dash here. So Perp 1 definitely would have wanted to be paid. Perp 2 would have wanted to be paid. Perp 3 definitely wanted a cash in. And Perp 5 wanted to be famous and rich. So, but yeah, this is very, let's wash our hands of it. Let's wash our hands of it. Now, a couple things that I'll just take note of. That's all I have for my analysis and eating those notes up. But I want to refer you to a wonderful YouTube channel that I came across last night as I was out and about. And there is an ex-police officer that has a channel called Profiling Evil. And look into this gent. He did a great analysis of these notes. And I want to read a comment that came up on the stream last night. It was from a person saying that they are a certified statement analyst. And when they are looking at note number 2, they are saying someone is either attempting to share blame and or shut it off. She was taken, for example, is in a passive voice rather than took her, and the apology to her family makes me wonder if it is someone they do know. So yes, but it's Perp 3 that seems to know the family as far as I'm concerned. Perp 5 could have apprised herself of the family, and it was stated in the past that Nancy's address was searched and they were able to trace back to an IP address, I believe, that was searching for her specific address. So by the time the crew was assembled, especially if they were already burglars that were successful, they would have had to case this, as we know, very easily. On camera, there's been more than one date that Perp 1 was caught on that camera. So now the other thing, did I forget anything? Let's see. Yeah, I think I did cover all of the little notes that I had. So, if you remember the interview with Hoda, when Hoda interviewed Savannah, and she was asked at that time about the ransom notes, just looking at Savannah's reaction, you know that I know that she's really taking the first note serious. The watch being in the specific place is certainly insider information, and especially the floodlight being broken. And you have to wonder if the perps did that themselves, because they would have had the eyes on that back door. And if they knew the neighbor's dog was already alerting, you have to wonder, did they break that themselves? Because that dog was in very close proximity to Nancy's back door. And I know Perp number 2 was skulking. If you've seen my past videos, I have definitely seen vision where Perp 2 was skulking. That was the word I got, in the washes. And I do believe that that is exactly how they gained entrance, and they could have been dropped off anywhere else that had access to the washes coming in behind her home. And I certainly feel from the beginning, when I started looking at that, that they had eyes on her home in more than one way. So I do believe these notes are real, but I also feel they are a real mess, because where is she? Where is she? And I feel when I tune into these people, I don't know that we're really going to hear from them again. I feel, especially Perp 5, knows how to just compartmentalize and get on with it. So, makes me wonder. Honestly, I still feel searches could still be the most imperative at this time. Let FBI work out more details. They have other ways. Let's hope that somebody can tell the personalities, but I do not think it's family members. It's not the family members that wrote Ransom Note 1 and Ransom Note 2. They're not family members. Perp 3 is not related to the crew by blood. Okay, so, but it does make me wonder, Perp 5, going back to how everybody feels that there's a romance here. Oh, I got my live things going on here. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm going to be wrapping up. Okay, so just wrapping it up, I guess that is all I want to say about the notes. Let's see if anybody from the public really can identify these people, but I don't know. I still say Perp 3 and 5 don't live together. And Perp 3, if he's the writer of letter number 1, I don't know if anyone can really identify him. Perp 5, maybe. But I don't think that's... I don't know. I think I'm going to just leave it like that. I'm going to leave it like that. I don't want to think. I want to know. That's what I have on the notes. Okay, I'm identifying Perp 3 and 5 to be behind those notes. That matches the personalities I'm getting. So I will definitely have more. And as you might have seen on my YouTube channel, though we are at day 186 today, I have been loading some of the videos from June's search. I am a photographer long before I was a clairvoyant medium in the public, and archiving through photography is extremely important. So I hope you're not bored by the fact that I am posting. I think I'm ranging from day 137 now through day 140. I'm loading it currently, so a little behind on the uploads. However, archiving what I searched is highly important, and I hope I'm not getting too much criticism, because my point from the beginning is Nancy is in red earth, and I went personally to look at where to find red earth, and all of those areas I've shown you in video will prove there's no red earth. As much as I wanted it to be Catalina State Park, there's no red earth there. However, I still am targeting on my mediumship level that Catalina area could still be the area that she was held. I really do feel that still. So there was great reason for me to be up in Catalina, and especially any of the videos, whether they're long or short, of the terrain I've been filming. Please don't get bored. This is extremely important. And what some of this video proves, I want it to be rather blatant and obvious. Where are the helicopters still, and where are the low-flying drones? Some of the desert that I'm concerned Nancy is just left alone in, it is open and arid. So some of the video that I'm showing that's still up, yet to be posted, will be of Saddlebrook, the areas that were north around Catalina, Oracle, all those areas, also south down to Marana. It's very important because I'm going to be holding the integrity of what my visions are, and she's in red earth. So I want people to see the videos where I'm proving there's no dang red earth in a lot of the areas around Tucson. So we can either keep trying to find the stable ranch perpetrators, because they're all in one location, and I feel that that is a very separate location than where she's buried. So I personally was investigating both. Both are important. The body is imperative, but someone's got to pay for this, right? So we gotta know where the perps are. So I'm gonna keep posting my late but appropriate videos on my coverage of that, and I hope you do enjoy them. I've still got a lot, and I'm working through my reno, and I'll be back. Thank you for watching.